Hello everyone, let's do a quick review. First off, can you solve this? I want you to find the percent. So what is 35% of 80? So we're just trying to brush up on a couple of things. Just want to know, what is 35% of 80? And how did you figure it out? So this is usually some of those questions that people kind of get a little bit stuck on. So we're going to give ourselves like a nice little 20 seconds. So looking at what is 35% of 80. So we're going to try to do as much as we can before our sun goes completely down. All right. Thank you so much for previewing. All right. So most people, when they're solving this, the 35% of 80, they're doing one of a couple things. They could either say, all right, let me take 80, and then I'm going to multiply it by the decimal version of 35%, which is 3,500. Right? So if I want to do this, I got 5 times 0, which gives me 0. 5 times 8, that gives me 40. 3 times 0, that gives me 0. And 3 times 8 gives me 24. So since this has no decimal points, this has 2 decimal points, that means my answer has to be in 2 decimal points. So then I can do 0, 0, 4 plus 4, that gives us 8, and 2. So moving all the way from the end, that's 1, 2. So that will give us 2.800 or 28. Okay, you can do it that way. But then there's another way that we can do this. All right, there is another way that we can do this. So we can do the flip mode squat, you know? So instead of saying what's 35% of 80, of meaning multiplication, I can say what's 80% of 35. Reason why I like this way is because I have this 0. So I know this 0 multiplied by the 5 or the 3 is still going to give me a 0 in this place. But then I can just go right to the 80 and the 5, that gives me 40, carry the 4. Then we have 8 times 3 is 24, plus 4, that gives me 28. And again, this has 0 decimal places, this has 2 decimal places. So if I move, my answer should be in 2 decimal places. So 1, 2. And I still get my lovely 28. Okay? So remember, you can do either way to carry on. Alright, so let's see what else we got. See if you can solve this. It just seems like there's like a narrowing. There we go. Yeah, TikTok did something updated. But anyway. Alright, so let's solve this. Negative 4x minus 4 equals 3 times 2 minus x. Thank you so much for joining in. I know it's kind of hard. It's a Friday night. But we're going to try to do a little bit of math as a refresher before we start the weekend. Alright? Plus, I want to do this as long as I still have some kind of daylight. Still need to get myself a video. So if you think you know the answer, go ahead and put it in. Nikki, I see you're like, I'm not sure with this one. But that's all right. But thank you for your honesty. Okay? Hello, Miss Lewis. How are you? Okay? So GH, you're thinking it's negative 10? All right, let's see if we can take a look. Okay, let's see if we can get a couple more, and then I will get started doing what I do best, breaking it on down. So for those that don't know me, you're probably like, who's this chick that's on here doing math on a Friday? Well, this chick's name is Miss Audrey. I'm Audrey Codner, and I'm the owner of Math by Audrey, where I basically help a lot of people with their algebra components to help them with their current classes, also to help with the GED, the ASVAT, the Accuplacer, TEAS test, HESI test, anything that has to deal with algebra, so you can build up your confidence and you can get the score that you want, plus more. Okay, Jay, I see you. Okay, you're saying x is equal to 2. Let's do it. All right. Me is Math Genius. Okay. All right. So first thing I want to do is I want to distribute the 3 to everything inside this parenthesis. So that means everything over here, I got my negative 4x. My minus 4, which none of them can be put together because they're not like terms. Then 3 times 2 gives me 6, minus 3 times x, which gives me 3x. Now, here's the thing. We have x's on both sides of the equal sign, and we want to get our x's all on one side of the equal sign. All right, so let's take a look. So it depends on where you want to put your x's. It really doesn't matter. So if anything, let me put my x's on the left-hand side. So a lot of people are used to that. So we are minus, we have a negative 3x. So the opposite or the inverse of negative 3x is a positive 3x. Whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you're going to do to the other. So that means negative 3 and positive 3x, they'll give me 0. But I don't need the 0 as a placeholder because I still have this positive 6 right here. Bring this down, bring down my negative 4. Now negative 4x plus 3x, that gives me a negative 1x. So now I got my x's on the left-hand side, so that means this negative 4 needs to go to the other side of the equal sign. So the negative, the inverse of negative, is positive. So negative 4 and positive 4, that gives me 0, but I don't need it as a placeholder because I still have this negative 1x to bring down. So now 6 plus 4, that gives me 10. But we're not done. Okay, we're not done because we want to know what x equals, not negative 1x, just x or 1x. Okay, so that means we're going to have to what? Divide negative 1 on both sides. So negative 1 divided by negative 1 gives me a positive 1x or just x. And then 10 divided by negative 1, when the signs are opposite, my answer is going to be negative, and that will give me 10. Okay? All right? So make sure you're dividing, not subtracting. Okay? We'll see what's going on there. All right? So all we're doing is taking it step by step. Get rid of the parentheses by doing the distributive property. That's how this came about. Then we wanted to get our x's on one side. It doesn't matter if you have it on the left or if you have it on the right, okay? But you got to make that decision. So if you want to get on the left, that means I need to move that negative 3x over. And then I bring everything down. I need to move the negative 4 over, so I do its inverse. Then I do my division, and then we got that. Yes, Nikki, I do. I do have tons of books, workbooks that covers all this. All of my workbooks, especially this one called Algebra at Your Pace. So you, if you're thinking of, for solving equations, you're thinking of volume 3 for Algebra at Your Pace. Okay, didn't have time to play around with my stuff. So what happens is there's a QR code in the very beginning that you scan it, and then it walks you through the different types of equations. Okay, so it's basically me breaking down each of these concepts, give you room for notes, and I also give you practice problems. So if you're interested, you have the extra practice problems at the end of every book. They usually give you, well, I give you a quiz, a summative assessment to make sure you're doing okay. And then I also give you some things to kind of keep track on, okay, to make sure that you're doing okay, especially the rules of integers are in the very book. Okay? All right? So if you hit the link that is in my profile, and also in this book, I like to give extra practice problems. I call these matching cards, because once you solve them, there's like 4 to a page. Once you solve them, there's answer keys. Okay? So there's answers that you can actually match up. And this will go for anyone that's doing Algebra 1, that's doing Algebra, that just needs a little extra prep, or anyone, and of course I give you an answer key to make sure that you're getting the right connection. Okay, so these and many of all my algebra books are available on my Stan Store. Okay, so if you just go to the link that is in, okay, so if you go to the link that is in my profile, the very bottom with the Stan Store, and then once you get past here, you get like your free checkups, okay, and then you can look at the different individual books, but if you go past this, you will see all the different systems. So the one for that we're kind of dealing with the solving equations, it'll be this one. These are all my e-books. So if you want the physical book, you're going to have to go all the way. I know, I just made you dizzy. So if you want the physical books, you have to go all the way. Notice all these books that I have here. So if you go at the very bottom, if you want to shop the physical books on the A, you can do that. But the physical books are $25, whereas the individual books are like $12.99. All right? Okay? So anyone that's going into Algebra 1, I can't tell you by grades, because there are some people that are doing Algebra 1 as 9th graders. Some people are doing Algebra 1 as 6th graders. So it all depends on the skill set. All right? Let's see. Or let's see if I can do this. There we go. Okay, let's give a solve for this one. Let's see what we got. And if you have any questions, nope, he's back. Need all the help you can get? Yes. And if you have any questions before you purchase anything, go ahead and send me a message. Because I'll be truthful with you. I'll be like, yeah, this is what you need, or you know what? Maybe you could go and do blank and blank. Okay? All right. So basically, algebra, I want to say Algebra 1, a little bit of Algebra 2, a little bit of geometry, also some data analysis. Everything that's usually in your GED or high school equivalency test, that's what's inside the books. Okay? Okay, but again, if you just go to the link, you can get the explanations. If you click on the buttons, it'll take you straight to the explanations. Okay, but if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. Because I also do a lot of flashcards, like some of the flashcards that you see me use, I created those as well. You know, for example, like if I had this verbal one, these are some of the flashcards that I've created as well. Okay, is that a -10? Yes, it is. GH is a -10. So it's 4 times the difference of 2x and 1 equals -10 times the difference of x, the same number, and 5. Okay. An Algebra 3 book? Not sure. Hey, Freedom Land, how are you? Because I know Algebra 2 and I know pre-calculus, so it's usually a lot of the basic components. That's what I have for the books for right now. Got to work on the foundation, because everybody's trying to do advanced math, but they just don't understand the basics, like, you know, multiplying, dividing fractions and integers and decimals, and then we progress into solving 1-step, 2-step, 3, you know, multi-step equations and so forth. You're confused? All right, I will show it in a sec. All right. The book that I showed, oh, that's volume 3. Yeah, that's volume 3. My life is really dangerous because I was like, I just had the book in my hand. It has been a crazy day, guys. Really crazy day. Yeah. Hey, OH, how are you, Ohio? It's been a minute. Yeah, so it would be volume 3, solving equations. All right, perfect. Okay, so let's see what you guys get. Okay, so I see animals thinking like it's 10 or negative 10. This one's a negative 10. Okay, hey John, how are you? For math. Aw, I feel you. I feel you. Amazing professor. I feel you. Okay, so I'm seeing lots of 3s. Joseph, welcome back. I want to start tutoring once a week, 2 hours. Okay, please text me because once I get off this live, I've been tutoring since 9 a.m. this morning. I'm surprised I'm alive right now. Okay, so I'm seeing 3s, I'm seeing 4s. Okay, perfect. Because I'm not ignoring people, it's just my thing is. Are you taking the science test next week? Okay, John, you got this, man. You got this. All right, so let's take a look. So I noticed that we have distribution on both sides of the equal sign. So we're going to distribute the 4 to its parenthesis, and then we're going to distribute the negative 10 to its parenthesis. So when we distribute, we're multiplying. So 4 times 2x, that gives me 8x. 4 times negative 1 gives me negative 4. Over on the other side, we have our negative 10 times x, that gives me negative 10x. And a negative times a negative gives me a positive, and 10 times 5 gives me 50. Okay? All right. So now, we want to get all of our x's on one side. So if you want to put it to the left, you can put it to the left side. If you want to put it to the right, you can put it to the right side. But I'm going to move this 10x over to the left side. So I have to do the inverse. So minus 10x, the opposite of minus is plus. Okay, so whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So negative 10x and positive 10x will give me a 0. And I don't need that 0 as a placeholder because I still have this positive 50 that needs to come down. So we're bringing down that minus 4. And we're going to combine the 8 and the 10 to give me 18x. Okay. So, I want to cover this up so it won't get too confusing. So now, focus on the 18x minus 4. So what we want to do is get that x by itself. That's the whole entire goal. So that means I need to move that minus 4. So here we go. Opposite of minus is plus. Oops. I guess this is a dud. Oh, no, there it goes. Just like everything in life, give it a little time. So this will give me our 0. But again, don't need it because we have the 18x. So now we have 50 plus 4. That gives us 54. All right, no limit, I see you. Good. So now we just have to do what? So we have 18x equals 54. So that means I need to divide. Why am I dividing? Because in between the 18 and x, I don't see a plus or a minus. So that means this is multiplication. And the inverse of multiplication is division. So that's why we're dividing not 18x, just the 18. Because we want to get x by itself. And then 54 divided by 18, that gives us 3. So x is equal to 3. Okay. All right, so for all my screenshot warriors, here you go. Yes, the book is electronic. How did you erase? What do you mean, how did I erase? Got into pre-algebra. Okay, all right. Nice. Are you excited? Okay. Well, animal, if that throws you off, you can go to the A and you can actually order the book, which is, 25. And the reason why it's so expensive is because I like to use color in my inks. Color helps people identify certain objects. They'll remember it more. So that's why. If you notice most workbooks, they like to just use it in black and white, and they don't really take that into perspective. Okay? So if it's too much, please no. Good at math. How often do you do these lives? Oh, you're probably good at math. I try to do lives every day except for yesterday because we had rain and our electricity just went poof. Okay? Yes, this is definitely for the ASVAB, right? Definitely. Because this is best, especially a problem like this, will be for the algebra section. Okay? So you need this? All right, well then get it. What's the problem, animal? Jeez. Okay? Relax. You're so welcome. And then if you guys stick, if you stick towards the end, which I'm not going to go too long, I will actually show you because I do have a YT channel that has all my live recordings as well. So if that's another alternative, if money is a crunch for you, there is still no excuse. You can still watch certain items. But if you want to get a lot of the practice, it is going to be cost, okay? All right, so make sure you stick with this. So we have -5. Let me zoom in. Here we go. So we have -5 x raised to the -6th power, y to the 0 power, z, all of it raised to the 2nd power. And I want you to simplify. Okay? Yeah, the book has a lot. It has a lot. And that's why if you do the ebooks, I know, animal, you're about to freak out. But if you do the ebooks, I have systems because the A doesn't create bundles. So what I do is I have like a whole bundles that's also located inside of my stand store. So if you do need something, okay? Means your trouble for real. That's okay. So it's not because it's math. It's because it's how math was presented to you. Okay? Has a lot of examples and practice. Yes, definitely a lot of practice. Because even some of the bundles, you will actually get my additional practice books. So I have one for ASVAT, which will really gear more towards the arithmetic reasoning part. And then I have one that deepens a little bit more for my Accuplacer people. Okay, anything raised to the 0 power is what? Anything goes. All right. Okay, Misty, I see you. Thank you. But what happens if we can't have a negative as our solution? We never have negative exponents as our final solution. What do we have to do? Okay. If we can't remember, that's okay. That's why I'm here. I'm here to break that part down. Okay. All right. Ready? Okay. Let's see. Okay. Move. There we go. Okay. Jude, I see you. Thank you. All right. Yes. All right. Good. So, here's one way of doing this. Okay. And again, once you get used to it, you'll be able to make the difference. So now, let me kind of zoom in a little bit. So first thing, everything inside of this parenthesis is being raised to the 2nd power. So that means my -5, that's being raised to the 2nd power. My x to the -6th, that's being raised to the 2nd power. My y to the 0 power, that's being raised to the 2nd power, as well as my z. So everything is being raised to the 2nd power. Once you get used to it, just right now, take it step by step. So now we have -5 squared. What is -5 squared? Put that into the chat. Super Mario, I see you. There we go. Okay. All right, Dom, how are you? It's been a minute since I've seen you. My goodness. Michelle, I see you. Anything goes. See you. Trav, I see you. Ryan, I see you. John, bring it down, John. I think we kind of did a little extra typo. And me, I see you. R.I., I see you. Rose, I see you. Misty, I see you. Brenda, be careful. John, I see you. Tika, I see you. I'm doing okay. All right, there we go, John. Here we go. Because -5 squared, there you go, Miss Brenda. I see you. There you go, and your thing goes. Because -5 squared is basically saying -5 times -5. Okay, that base is the exponent's job is to tell the base how many times it's going to multiply itself. And a negative times a negative gives me a positive. So we got a positive 25. Now to the next part. Anytime we see an exponent being raised to an exponent, we are multiplying. Okay, so when we multiply, we keep that base of x, but we're going to say -6 raised or multiplied by 2, so that gives me a -12. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we don't want to leave our answer with a negative exponent. So anytime you get a negative exponent, it's almost like we're doing what's called a reciprocal. This needs to turn positive. So that means if the original, without losing the value of x raised to the -12, we can put it over 1. So if I bring this down to the denominator, the act of bringing it down is going to change it from a negative to a positive. So in fact, let me scroll up here a little bit, it's actually going to be 1 because we have to put something in the numerator. We can't just have x to the 12th in the denominator and nothing is up here. So we're going to put a 1 up there, then we have our x to the 12th. Okay, so anytime you got the movement, that's what's going to happen. So when you have a negative, when you drop it down, it's going to turn positive. Okay, so that's all based on the properties. So now we have our y to the 0 raised to the 2nd. So anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, but we know that 0 times 2, that's going to give me 0. Anything to the 0 power always has a start, and its start is going to be 1. Okay, not 0, 1. Okay, I just wanted to know. You just wanted to know what? Okay. So now, let's slide over to z squared. Okay? If you don't see an exponent, it's assumed to be a 1. So now when we multiply, we have 1 times 2. 1 times 2 gives me 2. So what we have available is this 25, this 1 over x to the 12th, this 1, and that z to the 2nd. So let's put this all again. How can I explain y again? Anything raised to the 0 power is equal to 1. Okay, so that's like one of the properties of exponents. Okay, so if we put all this stuff together, the only thing that should be in a denominator is x to the 12th. Everything else is going to be in its numerator. But see, we got like terms right here. 25, and this is all multiplication. 25 times 1 gives me 25. So that means the only thing that should be in the numerator is my 25 z to the 2nd power. And what goes in the denominator is our x to the 12th power. Okay? No, you don't keep the y. It's gone. Yep, anything raised to 0 power is automatically 1. Okay, so if I wanted to, if this whole entire thing was raised to a 0 instead of a 2, my answer will be 1. Okay. So your answer, 25z squared over x to the 12. Okay. So this is the part that's confusing a lot of people, which is that negative exponent. This is part of the properties of exponents. So let me pull that up. Okay, so I'll stick with the backs of the book. So we're talking about the law of negative exponents. So anytime you have a negative exponent, instead of leaving it negative, if it's a whole number, it's going to drop down to the denominator to make it positive. If it starts negative in the denominator, that means it has to come up to the numerator for it to be positive. Okay, so when you're talking about the laws of exponents, and this is also part of the book, the properties of exponents, when you have a negative exponent, it drops to the denominator to make it positive. Okay, okay, that's probably why. Okay, this has to be a 2-point or more question on a GED. For the exponents, it's about 2. Especially something like this, this is about a 2. Okay, would it be this expanded? Yeah, this is about a 2. Okay. Alright, so if you thought that blew your mind, let's talk about this. Let's talk about equations of a line. Okay, equations of a line. So, talking about point values for GED, anything dealing with linear equations, the slope-intercept form, point-slope form, slope, equation of a line, graphing equation of a line, they're all 4-point questions. So you cannot, I'm saying to you now, do not skip those. So what I'm going to try to introduce to you is the point-slope form. Okay, so we know y equals mx plus b. So in this case it says find the equation of the line in slope-intercept form, which is our y equals mx plus b. I'm going to show you how point-slope can translate into slope-intercept form step by step. Okay? Yes, this is a 4-point. Anything dealing with slope, factoring, volume, surface area, system of equations, system of inequalities, they are 4-point questions. If you skip those and you do somewhat decent on the arithmetic stuff, you're not going to pass the GED. You need at least 3 of these 4-point questions completely correct in order to pass it. Okay? Yes, they do have these for the ASVAT as well. So anything that I show with GED, ASVAT has it as well. Okay? Alright. So now, we want to find the equation of the line. They want us to put it in slope-intercept form. Okay? And they gave us our slope. And they gave us a point. So the point, this is our x, this is our y. And this will be our x1 and our y1, because that's the one point that they gave us. So let me show you step by step. So we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is the formula for point slope. Reason why, and if you really take a look at it, this is the equation for slope cross multiply. The reason why they call it point slope, because the only areas that we need to find or to fill in is the y1, the slope, and the x1. Those are the 3 areas that we need to plug stuff in. Okay, this is all we gotta do to plug stuff in. So just watch, don't freak out, taking it step by step. okay? Because it takes practice, guys. Some of you guys probably have never seen this. So, be kind to yourself, all right? So, they told us what the slope is. The slope is 5/2. And don't freak out because there's a fraction. It's gonna be okay. But they're also giving us our x and our y for the point that we're crossing. So the -7 is taking the place of the y1. The 4 is taking the place of the x. Everything else comes on down. So we have our y minus our equal sign, a parenthesis, our x minus close parenthesis. But I'm going to put a parenthesis around my -7. Because do you see what's happening right here? Okay, look at what's happening right here. You replace the -7 for the y1, not for this whole entire expression right here. It's not going to be y minus 7. No, it's y minus -7. When you minus a negative, it turns positive. Because a negative times a negative gives me a positive. Bring down my equals. Now, over here, I can distribute. Okay? So my 5/2 times my x, and my 5/2 times my -4. So 5/2 times x, that gives me 5/2 x. A positive 5/2 times a -4, that gives me a negative. So let me show you. 5/2 times 4. Anytime you multiply a fraction with a whole number, you can make that whole number into a fraction. So now, just focus on this part right here. Okay, just focus on this part. I notice I can multiply my 5 and my 4, that'll give me 20. I can multiply my 2 and my 1, that'll give me 2. So 20 divided by 2, that will give me a 10. Okay, that's one way of doing it. So I could have multiply straight across, 20 over 2, that can give me a 10. Or I can cross simplify. Okay, this is how we're multiplying with fractions. Okay, we can cross simplify. I notice that what number does 4 and 2 have in common? It's 2. Okay, it's a 2. So that means 2 divided by 2, that'll be a 1. And 4 divided by 2 is a 2. Look what's left over. 5 times 2, that gives me 10. 1 times 1, that gives me 1. And 10 divided by 1, that gives me 10. Okay? Alright? Okay, so you're still multiplying even after you reduced here. So now, let's get it together. So that means we have our y plus 7 is equal to 5/2 x minus 10. We want to get y by itself because we want to put this in what's called slope-intercept form. So what do? We subtract 7. So positive 7, -7 cancels out. And what we're left with is y equals 5/2 x Negative 10 plus negative 7, that gives me a negative 17. This is our equation. Okay, that's going to be our equation. So going through it step by step. Okay, a lot of people can do it another way. All right, but kind of don't leave out like, oh, I know how to do it using slope-intercept form. That's great. But they're going to give you a question, say, leave it in point-slope form. If they say leave it in point-slope form, that means you can stop right here. Right at this part right here. That y plus 7 equals 5/2 x minus 10. Because this is being left in point-slope form. But if they want it in slope-intercept form, we just got to take one step further to isolate our y. So that's how we're going to get that y equals. Okay. I know it was a lot, and a lot of people are like, oh, this is a lot, I can't do this. This is stressing me out. Well, here's my thing. You can't escape from it. You can't run away from this. Everything we do is not just going to be about order of operations or doing evaluations. We have to do the hard stuff. This is why it's a 4-point question. Okay? But don't be afraid. Okay? We're going to take things step by step. All right? Now, for our last one for tonight, because you can tell, I am losing light. Actually, I lost it. Okay? So now, again, we're going to keep with the whole pattern. Find the equation of the line passing through these 2 points, negative 3, 6, and negative 1, 2. Okay? And I'm proud for the people that are sticking with it. I know it's not easy, but don't give up on yourself. Because, guys, I did not come out the womb knowing this math. Okay? I was probably similar to you. Fractions used to scare the hell out of me. Word problems, I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And it took practice. And it took one person to say to me that fractions is nothing but division. And I don't know why it clicked for me like that. Because me personally, I wanted to get into entertainment. I didn't want to be a math teacher, but God had other plans, okay? All right? So this is how we're going to take things step by step. And it's not too late to learn. As long as you're open to learning, I'm open to teaching, okay? All right, so let's take a look. Find the equation of the line. So anytime they say equation of the line, we should be thinking y equals mx plus b. And I know there's certain states that are saying instead of a b, a c. Fine. No matter what, that's still going to be your y-intercept. But this time, they didn't give us a slope. See, last time, if I may revert back, they gave us a slope. They told us what m was. This time, they're making us work for it. So we have to find m. So let's see. In order for us to find the m, that's the change of y's over the change of x. And some of you guys will probably remember it as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? So, since because not everybody is the same as me, I read from left to right. Okay? So that means this is the first point that I see. So this is going to be my x sub 1 and my y sub 1. This is the second point that I see. Alright, so this is slope, equation of the line. Okay, so linear equations. So this is my second point, my second x, and my second y. This is the coordinates of the first points, that's what the 1's are for. This is the coordinates of the second point, that's what the 2's are for. Okay? So this is called linear equations. And this is volume 4 of my book series. So follow along with the path. y2 is 2. So 2 minus my y1, which is 6. X of 2, which is a negative 1, minus my x of 1, which is a negative 3. I like to put parentheses around it. Okay, the reason why, especially not the first number, but the second, because that minus sign has an effect on that negative 3. Okay, that's why I kind of like putting parentheses around negatives. Not necessarily the first number, but definitely the second. So now, take a look at our numerator. We have 2 plus a negative 6. Well, that gives me a negative 4. And here, when you minus a negative, what happens? It turns positive. So it's really negative 1 plus 3. So negative 1 plus 3, if I have $3 and I spent $1, that means I have $2 left. Okay, there you go, Brenda. And then for negative 4 over 2, this gives me a negative 2. Alright, so our slope is a negative 2. Alright, there you go. Hey, Lopez. Alright, so since we found our slope to be a negative 2, now I need to find the rest of the equation. So this, you can do it one of two ways. Okay? If you feel like, you know what, Audrey, I know y equals mx plus b better than what the heck was that other thing that you had before, not a problem. We will do that. So I will use my y equals mx plus b. We're going to replace the m with a negative 2. Okay, bring down my plus b. So now this is the part where you need to make a decision, and it doesn't matter which one you pick. You just need to pick one of the two original points to fill in for the x and the y of our equation. The reason why we're doing this is so we can solve for b, because now we need to look for the y-intercept. So I'm going to pick for us, because based off of time and based on light, I'm going to pick the negative 1 and 2. And if you want me to show you using both points so you can see, I'm more than willing to do that. So my 2 is my y. So the 2 is going to go here. My negative 1 is the x. So my negative 1 goes here. Make sure you pay attention where you're doing your substitution. So now we have 2 equals negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 1 is 2 plus b. So now I want to get b by itself. So this positive 2 that's right here, I need to get rid of it. And I have to do the inverse, which is minus 2. So these two will give me a 0, but I don't need the place value because I still have this b to bring down. Let me bring this up a bit. But over here, 2 minus 2 equals 0. I need the place value over here because there's nothing else on this side of the equal sign that I can bring on down. So I will need that placeholder of 0. So would you stop negative 2? What do you mean? So would we stop negative 2? Antonita, what do you mean? So would we stop negative 2? So would we stop at the answer negative 2? Oh, since my answer is 0? So we need the, exactly, thank you. Misty, you're right on my top. Okay, so we need the equation. So now we have y equals, we have our slope, which is negative 2x, but our b is 0. So you don't have to put plus 0 or minus 0, because remember, 0 is neither positive or negative. It's a placeholder. So if you don't have to put the plus or minus 0 here. So your equation is actually going to be y equals negative 2x. Okay? So you found your slope. Now you're using the equation to find your y-intercept, because it's a slope-intercept form. Okay? All right? Are we okay? So this was using the slope-intercept form to find your b. Now just to be, maybe there might be some people that like the point-slope form. So let me show you. So if we had our y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Again, our slope was a negative 2. And again, the only areas we have to replace is the y sub 1, the m, and the x sub 1. And we get to pick, well, since I used negative 1 and 2 last time, I'm going to use negative 3 and 6. So my y is a positive 6, so we should have the minus 6. So we substitute the 6 for the y1. Now for the x1, it's a negative 3. So we minus a negative 3. Again, I like to put parentheses around, especially after a minus sign. So inside this parenthesis, we need to kind of clean some things up. So we still have our y minus 6 is equal to the negative 2 parenthesis. And what's going on inside that parenthesis? When you minus a negative, it turns positive. Okay? So when you minus a negative, it turns positive. Now, let's do the distributive property. So you have negative 2x. Negative 2 times 3 gives me a negative 6. And then we bring everything else down. So since I want to put it into that slope-intercept form, the only thing I have to do next is add my 6 to both sides. So when I add the 6, do the inverse of minus 6, that will give me my 0, but I don't need the 0 as a placeholder because I still have this y to bring down. So we have our y equals negative 2x, and then negative 6 plus 6, that gives me a 0. But I don't need to put that 0 as a placeholder because I have that negative 2x to bring down. And look what we got. We get y equals negative 2x. And that's exactly what we got from the other time. So you get to pick which way you feel comfortable, specialized with standardized tests. Especially with standardized tests. Can you tell I've been talking all day? I'm getting delusional. So when it comes down to it, if you feel more comfortable with the first way, and you notice we used negative 1 and 2 to represent, and we still got a 0. When we did the negative 3 and 6 in the point slope form, we still get the same result. So it's really going to be up to you which side or which way you feel comfortable. Okay? Now, if you would like to get the replays of all of this so you can watch it all day, every day. All to your little heart's content.
Imagine walking into your father's home.
All right. So again, if you follow me here, which some of you guys have, thank you so much. So if you follow me here, you go to my link that's in my bio, is the only one that's here. Click on the Stand Store. Now, when you come into the Stand Store, you will see my YT icon. Click on the YT icon, and it will take you directly to my YT channel. Okay, if you want to subscribe to it, you can subscribe to it. It's awesome. This is the one thing that I did different because I love you, all of you. I decided to go through all of my TikTok lives and I made playlists for you. You're welcome, smooches, straight on the cheek, okay? So if we're looking at foundational stuff, you can go and look at all the videos. Notice there's 43 videos in there. So that means adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, integers, fractions, percentage, all that stuff is there. Okay, anything that I do for GED or ASVAT specifically, there we go. I've been speaking too long. I'm so sorry. I have some videos in here for you. If you want more practice with solving equations, I have all my live videos down for there. Order of operations, ratios, rates, geometry concepts. These are all the things that you will see on the ASVAT, the GED or high school equivalency test. Okay, slope, inequalities, fractions, they're all over. So everything you possibly want to look at. Okay, so you have that as an option. Okay, watch to your heart's content. Notice I have some of them that are like, so some of them are just like little bits, stances. But if you need something that is going to be super organized, okay, again, Stand Store. Take a look. One, you can get this free checkup just to see if you're on the right path. Okay, there's 15 questions. Is most of the questions that you will see in any of the standardized tests, just to check on your skills. But if you need some individual, step by step, here's the volumes, okay? These are the electronic ones, okay? These are the individual books. So if you want to take a look at any of them, all you have to do is just click on one of the areas, and then it gives you a detail of what's inside that book. Notice it didn't immediately take you to a payment place, okay? So if you take a look and you can read along, the payment stuff is close to the end. But if you're just like, you know what, I don't think that's the book for me, you just hit back and it'll take you right back to the Stand Store, okay? All right, now one thing I definitely want to do is, if you're thinking about it, I do have a starter kit. Okay, so this one right here, let me show you this. This is 42. This is the starter. So you'll get, it'll tell you a little more in detail, but this is what you'll get. You'll get volume 1 and volume 2 of the Algebra at Your Pace. Okay, you'll get a practice book. So if you need to practice the way that you're going to test. So that means sitting in a room, kick the kids out, kick your significant other out, take the animals, make sure they're outside, they're nice and safe. But then you sit in a room at a desk with a timer, and I tell you how much time you should put on there, and you sit down and you take the quiz. Okay, so then on top of that, volume 1, I give you like a walkthrough video. So I break down all of those extra practice problems that's in volume 1, as well as the quiz, to see if, you know what, I like this, I want to get more with the videos on there. Then you can progress to the other big ones, which are these bundles. Okay, so you have your starter kit bundle, you have your foundation bundle, but then I have this ultimate complete bundle right here. This includes all of the video explanations. So I take every question, every book that I have, 1 through 10 for the Algebra at Your Pace, plus 2 practice books and any of the flashcards in there, I give you everything plus the video recording of me answering each and every problem. Okay? So if that sounds like something that interests you, just go and take a look. If you just want the practice books, here's the one that comes with the system, but here's the one that is the ASVAB. Okay, so this is more of the arithmetic reasoning, the word problems, breaking down some stuff. All right? Okay, but if you want the video recording, those are the ones with the video recordings, and then these some other assessments. So take a look, scroll through it. If you have questions about anything, please ask. Okay, send me a message. Don't just say hi. Tell me what test you're taking. Say, hey Audrey, I was just on your live. I'm about to take this test. I'm really curious about blank. And then just talk to me like a regular, normal, everyday person. You know, yeah, there was over 200 people in the live, but I'm really talking to the 38 people that are here that are just like, you know what? I need this. Okay? What does raised mean with the exponents? When you're going through the questions, raised is the exponents. That's a term. Going from one power to the next. Okay? So again, all these books, all the videos, if you want to, give me some time to upload this one because we're past my hour time. But again, here's my Y2 right here at the end. Alright, so you can look at the playlist, you can look at some of the shorts, you can look at my lives, which I will be live on YT tomorrow at 1 p.m. and I'm going to be talking about order of operations. I would love to promote it here on TikTok, but TikTok will not turn it out because you're taking people away from TikTok. Okay? Alright, so if you have any other questions, go ahead and ask away. But I will see you guys here tomorrow morning, bright and early at 8 a.m. Or actually maybe, no, I lied. It's going to be later because I have a client. So sometime tomorrow morning Eastern Standard Time and breaking down concepts. But if you do have questions, please let me know. All right. Does it mean multiply? So I've never heard that term used that way. So when you have a power being raised to a power, let me see if I can find that. Here we go. Okay, so if I have something like, or I might as well just do this. If I have like b to the 6th raised to the 3rd power. So b to the 6th raised to the power. So I'm raising a power to a power. What actually this is saying that I'm taking this base of b to the 6th and I'm multiplying itself 3 times. So when you multiply, you're actually adding the exponents. So that will give you b to the 18th. So instead of having it out as an extended form, when you have a power being raised or being pushed up by another power, you multiply them. So it'll be b to the 18th. Okay? Alrighty? Okay. So, if you have any other additional questions, Rosemary, you're good? Rosemary Park. Okay. Alrighty? Okay. Alright. I need to skedaddle. The video keeps pausing. I'm not sure. Must be, it's lagging. I'm not lagging on my end, but it might be doing something. Alright everyone, so if you have any questions, give me a few to upload today's onto my YT channel, and I will see you either sometime tomorrow morning. Hey, follow me, and also get your notifications of when I do go live. And what else is there? I think that's it. And if you have any questions about the books or anything, just let me know. Okay, not a problem. All right, everyone, have a great evening. Talk to you tomorrow.